Hi there. In this video, we'll be covering how to publish a book. The process of publishing a book can be so confusing and even expensive. And I want to make this process easier and simpler for you to empower you on your book journey. By the end of this video, you will learn all about the writing and editing process, the paths to publication, and what you can do after your book is launched. And stay tuned until the end of the video for a free opportunity. Let's dive in. The first step to publishing a book is writing the book. Writing the book is such a demanding and difficult and challenging and ultimately rewarding opportunity. Writing the book is the chance for you to get your message out on the page, to get it ready to start preparing it with the world. But ultimately, you want to build momentum with the writing process. Far too often when somebody starts writing a book, they hit obstacles, they get challenged, they struggle and struggle and struggle until they give up, until they put their book aside. I don't want that to happen for you. I've seen it happen far too many times with the people I've talked to. I know what that feels like myself, to put a book aside and to just feel that burden of this unfinished thing, this thing that's looming over your shoulder. So ultimately, the best thing that you can do to make progress with your writing is to keep with it. Figure out what your patterns are to getting work completed. Spend some time every week writing your book, working on your book, making progress on your book. I like to carve out time, specific times each week. Maybe it's Monday at 10 in the morning. Every Monday at 10 in the morning, you're devoted to writing your book. Maybe it's Sunday night. Before your week starts, you just want to sit down and spend a couple hours working on your book. When you're writing your book, there's a couple different approaches you can take. Obviously, you can sit at a keyboard or a computer and start typing away. You can write notes to yourself by hand. I often like using voice-to-text transcription tools. I will actually record myself talking through something, or if I'm working as a ghostwriter on a book project and helping an author write their book, I will record them and take those recordings and upload them and turn them into automatic transcriptions on which I can take the words and shape them and mold them into chapters. It's a great way to make progress with your writing, especially if you're so busy you don't have time to sit down and write in front of a computer. You can actually do writing when you're driving or when you're walking. Sometimes I'll go for a walk and just record myself talking. I'm sure people, start to look at me a little funny when they see me just talking to myself. But there's a purpose behind it. There's a purpose behind the walking and talking. It's me doing writing. It's me recording material that I then use to finish chapters. Once you have a draft, once you have a manuscript that you're proud of, that's in shape, the next step is editing. So many people cut corners on the editing process, and then their book isn't as good as it could have been. Ultimately, you want to look at editing in terms of three tiers. There's content or developmental editing. That's the 30,000-foot view. That's the story level, just figuring out that the stories match up, that there's not redundancy, that there's not something missing. Then the next step is copy editing. Copy editing is that next tier down. Everything gets more and more granular as you move forward. Copy editing is going to pick up word choice, style, language, all those sorts of things. And the third step is proofreading. Proofreading is really just sifting, making sure that there's no errant commas or spaces or formatting issues or anything else. Basically, anything that's left up to that point gets handled in proofreading. You really want those three layers, and you want three different people working on those steps because you want different sets of eyes on this. You want to get those different perspectives. Maybe there's a blind spot that you missed. When you were writing this book, maybe there's something you didn't consider. Maybe there's something you didn't think about that's important. And the more people that you can get working on the book, the better your opportunities are going to be. That's not saying that you should send it to everybody and get their feedback. Please don't do that. That's a horrible idea. If you elicit too many perspectives, it's basically a too many cooks situation where there's too many opinions and ideas and you can't get consensus that way. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to send it out to everybody, but you definitely want to have editors lined up. Developmental editing, content editing, and proofreading. The next step to publication is figuring out which path you want to take to publish your book. In a nonfiction sense, there's really two options. There's self-publishing and there's traditional publishing. There's also a third option, hybrid, which blends the two of them. But for simplicity's sake, we're going to focus on those two, self-publishing and traditional publishing. In traditional publishing, you have to put together a book proposal, which is a 20 to 50 page document that outlines the scope of the book, your platform to promote it, sample chapters, other books in the marketplace that compare to yours and how they're different, how your book's unique. I think working on a book proposal is a huge step for any author, and I think it's a great opportunity to really figure out what your book is all about, but it's a tool to get literary agents and publishers interested in your book. And when a book gets sold to a publisher, it's because of this book proposal document, this document that, details every single step in the process and your ability to market and promote this book, and explains why you're the right person to write this book. The other option, and the more common option, is self-publishing. Most of the books that you see on Amazon are self-published. Most of the books that you see online are self-published. The books that show up in bookstores more often are traditionally published, even though there could be some from local authors that have been self-published that wind up at the bookstore, but more likely than not, those big popular books are going to be traditionally published, and the other books, and I'm not disparaging those other books, self-publishing is such a great opportunity for authors. It's a great opportunity to bring down the gatekeeping in book publishing. When you have people deciding whether or not your story is worthy of them publishing the book for you, there's ultimately biases that come into play. There's unnecessary gatekeeping, there's obstacles that get in the way of authors getting their book published, and it's discouraging. Additionally, it's possible to go the traditional route and actually end up making less money in the end. Yes, you can make more money on self-publishing in some cases. If you sell enough books, when you self-publish, you get more of the money from each book sold, and you have more control over the entire process, whereas when you're traditionally publishing, you'll get an advance up front typically, and every book sold from there will actually go toward covering that advance. And then from there, you can start making money, but less of the money goes to the author, and some of it also goes to the publisher. Whereas with self-publishing, more of that percentage goes toward the author. And you don't have to do a book proposal. You don't have to sell it to somebody. Self-publishing has a lot of big upsides, especially with the timeline. When you traditionally publish, it can take 9, 12, 15 months to see your book finally in readers' hands. If you self-publish, that could be a matter of months. So if you're interested in getting a book published quickly, self-publishing is probably the best route for you. Your book title is a huge, huge thing. This is ultimately one of the first things that people are going to encounter when they come across your book. What is the title and what is the subtitle? Those two things should really tell them exactly what this book is about and what they're going to take away from it, how it's going to impact their life, how it's going to help them. You want to get readers excited from the cover and from the title and from the subtitle, because otherwise, what is their motivation to want to read your book? You have that little window of time, that little moment of a couple seconds to hook a reader and get them excited. Otherwise, you could lose them. So you really want to focus on having an engaging title and an engaging subtitle. I ultimately see the subtitle as the more important thing of the two, if I'm, really looking at it that way, because the subtitle is the explanation of the title. You could have so-so title and a great subtitle, and it elevates the title. But if you have a bad title and a bad subtitle, or if you have a great title but a bad subtitle, it's going to, diminish the reader's interest in picking up the book or opening it up. So you want to get a sharp, a snappy, a clear vision for your title and subtitle. You want the reader to understand what this book is about right there, because you don't want to confuse them. If you're confusing them, if the title and subtitle don't make sense, or if they're not really what the book is about, you're just going to annoy and frustrate people who do read the book, because they're going to say, oh, I thought it was about this and it's about this instead. So you want to be as clear as possible to the reader. The title and subtitle are a great step to do that. Cover design is another big thing, and this goes with the title and subtitle. You really want to be drawn in by what that cover says. So many times I will see authors kind of rush the cover. Maybe they'll do something themselves on Canva, or, work with somebody that they know who does design work and just slap something together and here's a cover. This is really your chance to sell this. This is your chance to make this just so powerful. I think back to one of my dear ghostwriting clients, Rich, and he had this vision for this cover that he wanted, and it had a child next to a tree, and there was a sofa, and it was so interesting seeing how his mind interpreted the cover and what he wanted it to be, and ultimately he was able to get that cover in place. It was awesome to see it, and like he actually put together these like special prints of it and sent it out, and it was awesome. It's awesome when you see a cover really pop. And it's just such an awesome thing. So spend time on your cover, make sure that it's right. Engage with professionals. There are people who specifically do design work for covers. You'll want to work with these sorts of people if you really want your cover to stand out. The next step to publishing a book is having a great book description. This is the thing when somebody goes on Amazon and reads the text about what the book is about, this is the book description. You really want to spend time getting it right. You want to focus on the reader journey, some of the key discoveries or reflections or moments within the book, some of the key takeaways that the reader is going to learn. You really want to focus on the reader journey. You want to focus on other similar standout books that kind of enter this space that this is comparable to if you're looking at a classic book. You really want to think about what's going to draw the reader in. I've actually seen people work on book descriptions with AI and have AI fill in the gaps of their book description. I'm not really a fan of that. I mean, I think, it's so easy to focus on keyword-rich terms and jamming a bunch of keywords into a book description, which people do, but I think it's really important to really tap into what your book is about, why it stands out, what makes it unique and special and different, and understanding what the reader is going to take away from it. This is where all that work that you did ahead of time is going to come into play. If you did a book proposal, or if you even thought about some of the elements of that book proposal, what is the hook of your book? What is the reader takeaway? What's the benefit? What's the key message? All those things are going to filter in the book description because you want to capture that in text form in 250 or 300 words. So you really want to take some of those ideas and put them into this book description and get a reader excited to want to buy this. After you've done all of this work, writing, editing, design, layout, I haven't talked about layout, that's important too. There's obviously a couple different options you can choose for layout, but layout's an important step. It's awesome to see when a book has layout well done, that this layout stands out, that this is different. You can see the color within it. There's a lot of design choices that went into it. There's simple options that you can choose. You can use apps to design a book, interior design. You can work with a professional. This is kind of like the cover design. And sometimes you can actually have the same person do cover design and interior design. Once you've done all of these things, writing, editing, design, writing a book description, choosing a step forward for publishing, it's time to plan your book launch. It's time to take the leap. It's scary. It's scary to put your book out there. It's scary to take the jump, take the plunge. But at the same time, it's so exciting. It's so powerful to be able to hold your book for the first time and know all the work that you put into it. And know that somebody's going to benefit and learn from this, that there's something that they can take away with them and carry forward with them. It's so hard to compare anything to holding up your book for the first time. It's just a really special experience, and just all the work that you put into it, it just really stands out. There's a delayed gratification element that comes to book writing, and it's easy to want to cut corners, but you want to do it right. Ultimately you're going to get one chance to get this right and put this out there. And that next step, after you've done all that work and you have a book, ready to publish, is planning the launch. A lot of times authors will just rush it out on Amazon and just hit publish and it's live. It really diminishes the potential reach. There's so many things, there's so many mechanisms that you can pull on and work on and use to your advantage when you publish a book, whether that's a Goodreads giveaway, whether that's a pre-launch period on Amazon, when you can actually have pre-sale options where people can purchase the book and then it will get delivered on publication day, and all of those things get counted toward the launch. So there's this big launch and big push, and your Amazon ranking goes up, or goes down for that matter, I guess, because the number gets higher, lower and lower toward 1. It's so exciting when you can have that launch, when you're in a new release category in Amazon and you're getting extra visibility, and then people start to comment and post, and you can share about it to your followers. So it's a really good thing to be able to plan your launch and just spend time and do it right. Sometimes people work with a book publicist to get more media visibility. You can do that. I've seen positives and negatives from that, but ultimately this is going to come from you. You are the most important driver and most important element to your book's success, and you being able to promote it, to do interviews, to appear on podcasts or anything else is going to be the driver driving this forward. So ultimately it's going to be internal, what you can do and what you want to do to promote the book, but spend time on it. Spend time on it because it's worth it. The great thing about the book, and if you've done all these steps properly and spent the time on them and the energy to get them right, this book could be a marketing asset for years to come. This could be something that you promote and talk about for years to come. This could be something that carries forward with you. You know, this isn't just some quick release thing that you just push online and just move forward from. This is something that carries forward, and ultimately, it could ultimately open up doors for new clients, for you or your company. I've worked with people who've turned book sales into tens of thousands of dollars in client revenue because people signed up to work with them from the book. One book sale turns into tens of thousands of dollars. You could do that too if you pair your book with your offerings, your sales funnel and your offerings. So there's so much opportunity to carry a book forward, whether it's revenue opportunities, whether it's a legacy project, whether it's a personal pride thing and you just wanted to say you could write a book. There's so many opportunities to carry this forward and unleash the full power of the book. And it's just an awesome thing. If you want to learn more about how to publish a book, I'm sure you have lots of questions. I know when I started writing books, I had lots of questions myself. I'd love to talk further. I'd love to talk further with you about your book goals, your opportunities, what you'd like to see out of your book launch and book release and book writing, and maybe if I can help some way. So just go to goodghostwriter.com. You can click the link below and schedule a call with me. Schedule a one-on-one strategy call. I'd love to talk, give you insights and perspectives on the book writing process, the book publishing process, and all of the power that could come from it. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.